It was a typical Friday night. My parents had gone out for their weekly date night, leaving me alone in our creaky old house. I had the usual routine: microwave some popcorn, turn on Netflix, and binge watch some horror movies. Ironically, I had chosen to watch The Conjuring, thinking it would be a fun scare. Little did I know, my night was about to become a real-life horror show. Around 11 p.m, I started hearing strange noises. At first, I dismissed them as the usual sounds of an old house settling, but something about them felt off. It was the usual creaks and groans. It was more like soft whispers, almost too faint to hear, but persistent enough to send chills down my spine. I paused the movie and strained to listen. It was silent. I laughed at myself, chalking it up to an overactive imagination and too many horror flicks. I resumed the movie, trying to immerse myself back into the fictional horror. Just as I was getting comfortable again, the whispers returned. This time, they were louder and more distinct, like somebody was muttering right behind me. My heart raced as I slowly turned around, half expecting to see someone standing there, but there was no one. The room was empty, yet the whispers continued. I grabbed my phone and texted my best friend, "Hey, something weird's going on, can you come over?" He replied almost immediately, "Sure, I'll be there in 15. Relieved, I tried to convince myself that everything was fine. I decided to check the house to make sure I really was alone. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen and started inspections. I went room by room, flipping on the lights and checking closets. Every room was empty, but the whispers seemed to follow me, growing louder with each step. When I reached the basement door, I hesitated. The whispers were the loudest here, almost beckoning me to come down. I steeled myself, slowly descending down the creaky wooden stairs. The basement was dark and damp, filled with old boxes and forgotten items. I swung the flashlight around, trying to find the source of the noise. In the far corner, I noticed something odd. One of the old storage boxes was open. Its contents spilled onto the floor. Among the clutter, I saw a dusty, old book. I picked it up and brushed off the cobwebs. The cover was blank, but it felt strangely cold to the touch. Curious and unnerved, I opened it. The pages were filled with bizarre symbols and ancient-looking texts that I couldn't understand. Suddenly, the basement door shut, plunging me into darkness. I dropped the book and fumbled for the flashlight, but it wouldn't turn back on. Panic set in as I scrambled up the stairs, banging on the door and yelling for help. The whispers grew louder, almost deafening, as they were inside my head. Just as I was about to lose hope, the door burst open, and Jake, my friend, was stood there. Wide-eyed and breathless. "What the hell is going on?" he asked, pulling me out of the basement. We stumbled into the living room, slamming the door behind us. I tried to explain what happened, but the words wouldn't come out. Jake grabbed the flashlight and cautiously opened the basement door. He shined the light down the stairs, revealing the old book lying on the floor. He picked it up and flipped through the pages, his face growing pale. "We need to get rid of this," he said, his voice trembling. "I've seen this kind of stuff before. It's not good." Without another word, we took the book outside and set it on fire. As the flames consumed it, the whispers finally stopped. We stood there in silence, watching the book turn to ash. The night was eerily quiet, and for the first time in hours, I felt a sense of peace. When my parents came home, I didn't mention what had happened. Jake and I made a pact to keep it between us. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake that feeling that something had changed. The house was still the same, but I knew it held dark secrets. I vowed to never go into the basement again, and I hope that whatever evil was there had burnt away with the book. I've always found the sound of rain soothing. Tonight, though, it was different. The rain pounding against the windows, each drop sounding like an unwelcome intruder trying to get inside. I was alone in the house, nestled on the couch, with a blanket and a cup of tea, trying to distract myself with a movie. The old Victorian house, inherited from my grandmother, creaked and groaned with the wind. I'd spent a few weekends restoring it, but it still felt like it had secrets hidden in the walls. I paused the movie to get a snack from the kitchen. As I walked through the dimly lit hallway, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The portraits of long-gone relatives seemed to follow me with their eyes. I shook off the unease and opened the fridge, its bright light momentarily blinding me. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from upstairs. My heart leaped into my throat. I stood there, frozen, clutching the fridge door. The house was supposed to be empty. I forced myself to breathe and grab the knife from the counter. Step by step, ascending the stairs, the knife clutched tightly in my trembling hand. The hallway upstairs was dark, except for the faint light coming from the room at the end, my grandmother's old study. I crept towards the door, the wooden floorboards creaking under my weight. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see a flickering light inside. Taking a breath, I pushed the door open with the tip of my knife. The study was empty, but the desk lamp was on, casting eerie shadows around the walls. Papers were scattered across the floor, and the rocking chair in the corner was slowly moving back and forth. I knew I hadn't left it like this. My grandmother's journal lay on the open desk, its pages fluttering as if it was caught in a breeze. I stepped into the room, trying to make sense of the chaos. As I reached for the journal, the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, knife ready, but there was no one there. The room grew colder, and I could see my breath in the air. A low whisper filled the room, though I couldn't make out the words. It was as if the house itself was speaking to me. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the lamp, plunging the room into darkness. Panic set in as I fumbled for my phone, using its flashlight to navigate my way out. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from the walls surrounding me. I finally managed to open the door and stumbled into the hallway, slamming it shut behind me. My breathing was ragged, and my heart pounding in my chest. I needed to get out of the house. As I hurried down the stairs, I could hear footsteps behind me, slow and deliberate. I raced to the front door, but it wouldn't budge. The lock was stuck, as if the house itself was keeping me inside. Desperation took over, and I ran to the back door, throwing it open and escaping into the rain. I couldn't stop running until I reached the safety of my car. From the driveway, I looked back at the house. The light in the study was back on, and the rocking chair was still moving. I could see a figure standing in the window, watching me. It was an old woman, her face pale and eyes hollow. My grandmother. The rain seemed to fall harder as I sped away, my mind racing. I didn't know what I'd experienced, but I knew I couldn't go back. The house had secrets, dark and twisted, and it wasn't ready to let them go. That night, I checked into a motel and locked the door behind me. The sound of rain on the roof was no longer soothing. It was a reminder of what I had just left behind. I didn't sleep, my mind replaying the events over and over. The house had a story to tell, but I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, sleep tight.